What's up, everybody? This is Old Pop, and guess what? Got another WoW video for you guys today. Today I'm going to cover a couple different things. I'm going to go over the top 5 best PvP classes as of the pre-patch and all the updates that were made. I'm also going to go over the top 5 best 2v2 arena teams that are double DPS, no healer involved. It seems like that's going to be a trend now. It used to be that you needed a healer, you always needed a healer, but I'm really liking the change that you could do a double DPS and still be efficient, because a lot of classes right now are very bursty, a lot of one-hit KO capability, if not one-hit KO, one like combo of burst, and it seems legitimate. And then for the last thing I'm going to do for us, I'm going to do a top 5 3v3 arena comp. So that's what the gist of this video is going to be. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please like it, sub. The WoW videos that I've been putting out have been pretty popular, and I just want to give credit to where I'm getting this information from. That way, you know I'm a reliable source. Skill capped, MMO champion, a couple other pro WoW players like Super Tees and a couple other people. So yeah, I just wanted to give the credit where I'm getting my information from. That way, you know it's a reliable source. You can fact check me, check those people. You know, give them their views, whatever. That way, you know what I'm saying is legitimate. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do the top 5 PvP classes with the best race as well. The race does play a big role in PvP if you want the advantage over your other opponents. For the most part, it's going to be Orc and Human unless that's not available, and I'll explain why as we get into the video. So, first up on my list, we have Hunter, Marksmanship Hunter. First, we'll get the race out of the way. The first thing is Orc. Orc hardiness, 20% reduced stun effect, and increased damage from Blood Fury. And then Human, it's called Man of Will. Basically, you don't need the trinket, the insignia trinket, to get out of stuns and all the things like that. Instead, you can, now that's your passive, so instead you could double stack buffing or damage trinkets. So obviously it's very ideal. And now we'll get into why Marksman is top 5 right now. So first of all, their aim shot is extremely powerful, does a lot of damage, and the reason why this is relevant, it's not obviously, oh wow, it does a lot of damage, who cares, a lot of things do a lot of damage, but there's a catch to it. So their Covenant ability right now gives them the ability to shoot through walls, so they don't have to worry about line of sight. This makes it really OP. People that are going behind pillars that are really under half health and they think they're going to get away, this is extremely overpowered. I think it might get nerfed. It has a short cooldown, and it's really, really, really good right now. Another reason why that they're good, their traps have never been nerfed. They haven't been touched. So if you're going into a comp, a 2v2 comp with no healer, they will be a staple, because a lot of classes could either stun or silence, and then you could do that into a trap. So that way, if they waste their insignia on one, they trap into the other. They're really, really good for the utility and CC that they bring to the table. The one weakness about the Hunter is that you're going to need to win early. They have a lot of big bursts, but it comes at a cost. You can't really reset it as easily as some other classes. So that's one of the things that it doesn't make as big as like a top 3. And yeah, that pretty much covers the Hunter. Now, next on our list, we have the Frost Mage. So, Frost Mage, same thing here. Orc and Human. I already went over why it should be Orc or Human. But let's get into the Mage and why it's good. So, first of all, good durability. I know that normally seems unusual for a cloth wearer, but along with their blink and or shimmer, you should be picking shimmer in your talent tree. You get 2 double blinks. They heal you while you blink. Also, their new effect for a Covenant is they get healed while they're in Ice Block, or they also get healed while they have Ice Barrier up. So now they're getting additional heals. They also brought back Mirror Image and Alter Time baseline, so now they automatically have these moves. That's why they weren't as good in BFA. That's why Fire was king, because heavy burst, instant damage, really strong. But now this is definitely the way to go, I would think. It's not getting that much credit where it should be, but a couple other things. Ice Lance is really OP right now. A lot of the talent specs For example, getting rid of your water elemental increases your frostbolt and ice lance by 25%. Um, and another one, I think it's level 35 talent. It increases your ice lance damage by 3% and it stacks up 5 times. So you're basically getting a 15% increased damage. Obviously, ice lance does heavy damage to frozen targets. So at level 50 right now during the pre-patch, when I go into a BG, I'm hitting 3,000s and my gear, my item level is only 100 and I'm level 50 and I'm already hitting 3000s. So obviously you're going to see big changes at level 60 with the proper covenants, proper gear. So it's definitely really good. Like I said earlier, strong durability. It works really well with rogue, but not just rogue. It honestly works well with a lot of different classes, so you're getting a lot of versatility out of it. It could go with a lot of things, so you don't have to worry about what your friends are going to be. You don't have to really worry as much if you pick Frost Mage. Um, and yeah, honestly, it has a lot of great potential. It's already really good, but I could see if other classes even got the slightest nerf, I think it would go from A tier to S tier. So that pretty much covers that. So next up, we got Sub Rogue. So Sub Rogue, obviously, if you looked at anything for WoW right now, you know that this is going to be a good class. I think it might get nerfed, but if it doesn't, obviously we'll go into why it's really good. First off, Orc and Human. I don't need to explain it again. First off, the one thing I wanted to say is they have really good survivability, obviously, with going in and out of stealth. Cloak of Shadows, if you picked Smoke Bomb, just numerous things why they have really good survivability. One of their covenants now gives double damage, so basically you double hit for your Shadow Step, so and at 100% damage, so you can really destroy single targets. It's really strong right now. There's no doubt about it that this class is a top 3. Um, and it has really good setup for your team. So like I said earlier with the Hunter, they work really well with Hunters. We'll get into that later. Or just anything else in general. They work well with mages. Basically, everything in this top 5 work really well together, and you'll see that as it goes along. But yeah, they could set up their team well. Like I'm saying, if you kidney shot somebody and then you put them into a trap for the Hunter, then you could single target, burst someone down, destroy them. Also with the Mage could lower someone's mobility by up to 60-70% into a stun, and then single target, burn someone down. So this is really a great class. Next up, we have our Shadow Priest. So, Shadow Priest, what can I say right now? It's Shadowlands, Shadow Priest. They are really good. So the reason why they weren't as good in BFA and in Legion is because they needed to ramp up their dots. They had to cast their dots, and it was like a lot of ramping, which is never good in PvP. You want to do all out immediately. That's no longer the case. I believe the move is called Domination or something like that. I don't know if I'm saying the correct move, but anyway, what it does is you could basically click your target and apply all dots in one click. So you could really spread your dots around really quick. It has a lot of sustain. Their dots are really probably the strongest in the game, other than maybe Warlock. They have excellent off heals, probably the best, maybe second best when it comes to terms of off healing. And for the most part, that pretty much covers Shadow Priest. The only thing that I would also mention that they're pretty much a jack of all trades for arena, actually for any sort of PvP purposes. They have excellent durability, survivability, utility, CC. They literally have a bit of everything. They're probably the only class in the game that has the full package. They just really are where it's at right now. Oh, and I also didn't cover, this is the first change where you can't be an orc. So undead has a similar thing to human. It gets you out of charms and fear, and it doesn't fully affect your trinket cooldown. I'm talking about the one that gets you out of things, your insignia. So that pretty much covers Shadow Priest. And now for number 1, and it might be a surprise, might not be, Discipline Priest. So it's the only healer on the list, but it is the best. There is a lot of reasons why it's the best. So, first of all, it can work with anything. For the most part, it really just goes with anything. It goes with mage, it goes with rogue, it goes with hunter, it goes with shaman. Like, pretty much, if you throw a disciplined priest in for a threes team, you shouldn't even have a problem. If you throw them in for a twos team, you shouldn't have a problem. Like, they won't be the problem at all. They're one of two healers that do damage. They do atonement, so they do damage in order to do heals. They have the best damage out of any healer in the game, and that's by a large margin. It kind of reminds me, their playstyle right now reminds me of how they were in Wrath of the Lich King. They are really, really good. Um, they're definitely the best healer. They have mind games right now. Mind games is really overpowered move. It actually might even get nerfed. That's how good it is. They also have this thing right now where they receive like a 30% damage reduction when they're getting attacked up front. So right now, I don't even think it's close to another healer. They really are in a league of their own. And yeah, there's not much to even be said about them. They just are that dominant right now. And like I said earlier, it reminds me, if you played back in the day, how they were on Wrath of the Lich King. They literally, if in terms of, I know this isn't just about dueling, it's more about arena comps, but for 1v1, I think they're unbeatable. I think it's literally impossible to lose a 1v1 right now. It doesn't matter what they're up against. They are that good. They even could out DPS, I'd probably say almost half of the DPSs in the game. That's how strong they are right now. So that pretty much covers the top 5 PvP class with their best race. Again, if you're going to be Horde, you're going to want to be Undead for them. And now let's get into the next thing. So the next one we got, top 5 2v2 double DPS arena comps. Later on, once I get a little bit more info, I'm going to make another video, top 5 2v2 arena comps that have a healer in it. I'm pretty sure maybe 4 out of 5 are all going to have a disciplined priest in it. So there you go right there. That's how relevant. Back to the disc priest. That's how good they are. So first on the list is... Sorry. Whoops. I hate when it does that. Number 5. Shadow Priest and Ret Pally. This is a really, really strong team right now. Burst really high. Excellent, excellent off healing. You might as well call this a healer comp, because they both have really good off healing. They could keep themselves up. If they needed to get their other player up, they could keep their other player up. Word of Glory is really strong right now for their healing. This is probably the best non-healing comp in terms of off heals. So just keep that in mind. They have really, really good CC chain. This team has really excellent CC chain. You pretty much go from your conduit. Right now there's a conduit that it's essentially a charge, and it stuns for 4 seconds. So you could literally, from the Ret Pally standpoint, so you could charge into a 4 second, into a silence, into a Hammer of Justice. So right now they really are really strong. And then with all that CC going on, you switch off to the other target, and you could obliterate somebody in terms of burst right now for this team. So this team is not to be messed with. They both have their own version of like immunity, and they can sustain big burst against them. So if a team is another 2v2 that's only DPS and they also are strong burst, this team will be able to withstand against that. So that means if they could stand against a 2v2 DPS with strong burst, if you're playing 2v2 against a healer, they're going to be able to make a strong push. So it is something to keep in mind. And that's all that needs to be said about them. So next up, we have Sub Rogue and Ret Pally. Ret Pally seems to be trending right now. It seems to be pretty popular. They were recently buffed. I've actually mentioned that in my tier list video. They're definitely top of the B tier, but they just work well with the upper tier characters right now, upper tier classes right now. They just have really strong burst. They have the potential to one hit KO, and they have pretty decent mobility. So with the combination of the two, they have excellent burst. Obviously, Sub Rogue, they have their ability right now that their Shadow Step could deal double damage from their conduit. Like I just said, Red Pally, one hit KO. They both have good mobility in terms of the Rogue. Obviously, it has sprint, vanish. It can just get out of combat quick, start to eat and drink. And then they have excellent CC, as I mentioned earlier with the Shadow Priest. Right, this is the same type of deal. You got Kidney Shot, you have Hammer of Justice, you have the Charge, and then you could target onto the next guy and obliterate them. Again, they also have good immunity with Cloak of Shadows, Bubble. Obviously, the Rogue also has evasion if they chose for their PvP talent to pick Smoke Bomb. So, and they also have the ability, obviously the Repality has the ability to off heal, and the Sub Rogue has their own heal ability for self healing. So they have pretty good in terms of off healing. It's really not that bad. So yeah, this team is definitely going to be relevant. Now we are on to number 3. So this team, it's number 3 for right now. This is a comp that has always been good. I have a funny feeling Marksman Hunter might get nerfed, and I'll explain why while I get into this. Um, you could start from stealth with this matchup, sap into a burst, sap into a trap, into a kidney. So the CC chain just goes on and on. The Shadow Duel right now, this is why they're really OP. Basically, Shadow Duel, you can't trinket out of it. You can't get out of it. So, and as of right now, hunters can see through the Shadow Duel. So now you're automatically creating a 2v1 scenario. So on top of that 2v1 scenario, you could also make another, right after that's done, if somehow that person lived through that burst, you could create another 2v1 scenario where you kidney shot into a trap. So they are insane right now. Another reason why I think Marksman is going to get nerfed, other than the Shadow Duel with the Rogue combination, is one of their conduits lets them. I mentioned earlier in the top 5 classes right now, they can see. They don't have to worry about line of sight. They can essentially see through walls. So if they do aim shot and they're low into a kill shot, which you could double kill shot right now, they just are a wrecking crew. This is a wrecking crew team. And like I said, lots of CC, lots of damage. That's basically what you want if you don't have a healer. So next up, which it shouldn't be really no surprise to anybody, Sub Rogue and Frost Mage. This team has literally proven itself time in, time out since Burning Crusades. This team, patch in, patch out, they have always been relevant. They just are always good. They just work really well together. Obviously, with the rogues getting their poison back, they obviously have wounded poison and the slow and crippling poison. The slow, the Frost Mage has slow. So if they're going up against a melee class, they're gonna have the melee class is gonna have a hard time getting away, getting around. This is literally destroyer of melee. Obviously they have the ability to start from stealth, so that's an advantage, which basically could force a sap situation early. They could obviously both run, reset, drink. Strong CC, really good mobility, and obviously they keep the other team's mobility at its lowest possible thing. There's really not much else to be said about this comp because it's just been proven time and time again. Rogue Mage will always be good together. And lastly, whoops. Rogue Priest. Rogue Shadow Priest. So right now, I think this is another one where, yes, it is. I did rank it number 1, but I do feel like it could be any of these 1, 2, or 3 could flip flop. And the reason why I think Marksman could be nerfed, I think Shadow Priest might get nerfed. I think Sub Rogue could be nerfed. So, but I don't think Frost Mage is going to get nerfed right now, and that's why I have them number 4 on my list, because they're not really getting a lot of attention. But if anything happens to any of the upper tier, Frost Mage is going to make a nice push all the way up to the S tier. So that's really my feeling about it. And Yeah, so let's get into it. Obviously, you have your good off heals. You have great CC, as I mentioned earlier. And now you're adding a silence into it and a disarm. So this is just they really have everything: stun, silence, disarm. They're really good. This is a really aggressive team. But it's not all or nothing because, like I said, if I mentioned earlier with the Shadow Priest and the Red Pally, they can sustain big burst. Obviously, Shadow Priest is going to be able to sustain, and then the Rogue can vanish. So, they're really good to go. They have Cloak of Shadows, Life Swap, and yeah, that pretty much is it for them. Um, I do think, I do think because Sub Rogue right now is number one in terms of melee, and Shadow Priest right now is number one in terms of caster. I do think that they're gonna get a hit at some point. They're gonna get a nerf. So obviously, early game, first patch, early release, this will be what's really good. But I just don't know if it's gonna last throughout. That's why I really like Sub Rogue and Frost Mage because it's just been proven time in time out that that comp works. Um, and yeah, and also if you notice this, and you're gonna notice this with 3v3s, if you watched my prior video, which I am gonna put the link in the bio, I go through a tier list of every class, and where they rank and all the stuff like that. Now in my S tier, for in terms of class specific, my S tier has Affliction Warlock, it has Elemental Shaman, it has other classes like that, and if you notice in my top 5 comps, those aren't in it. That doesn't mean that they're not relevant. They're in the S tier. They are really, really good. It's just certain comps, certain teams just work well better with each other. That doesn't mean that Affliction Warlock still isn't in the S tier. They are in the S tier. They're relevant. So, okay. And now we are going to do the final thing, the threes. So let's get into it. First up, Elemental Shaman and Disc Priest. Where the hell is the third one? Sorry about that. And Frost Mage. So, this is a big, big burst team. Obviously, Elemental Shaman has one hit KO ability with Lava Burst. They really buffed Lava Burst. They have pretty good CC chain with Lightning Lasso. They keep the mobility down because of Frost Shock. And obviously, what the Mage can do with its Novas, Frost Bolt, its Ice Lance keeps them slowed. Disc Priest is a staple right now. I'm pretty sure it's in every single team. Maybe not the last one. We'll see how it goes. So strong burst, good CC as I just said, good mobility. It is weak against comps that are up in your face all the time. So if the Elemental Shaman can't really get its Lava Burst off, it's gonna have a little bit of a harder time withstanding. But again, the Frost Mage really controls the field and dictates the game. If the Frost Mage is on point and he's doing what he's supposed to do, keeping the slow, the Elemental Shaman should be able to get its Lava Burst off. That's why they work together really well, and the Discipline Priest is just the best healer in the game, and is also going to do damage with you. So that's another factor. You have the big burst, the Disc Priest is going to do damage, and the Frost Mage is going to control the field. So, combination all together equals top 5. So yeah. Now, you might see a trend here. So now we got Sub Rogue, Discipline Priest, Marksman Hunter. As we just went over in the 2v2, Sub Rogue and Marksman Hunter, I went over why they're good together. If you just add the best class in the game, Disc Priest, what do you got? A top 5 comp, and it's not even close. Good consistency. As I mentioned earlier, good CC chain from your stun into your trap, Shadow Duel. You're really narrowing it down for them. Single target burst is massive. I shouldn't really have to go over much about this because all I did is take the 2v2 comp for the DPS if you watch that part and added Discipline Priest. So this team is extremely good, and it's as long as Marksman and Sub doesn't get nerfed, it's going to remain relevant. I don't think Discipline Priest is going to get nerfed ever. So I think they're keeping them at the top. So here we go at the number 3 spot. Sub Rogue, Disc Priest, Frost Mage. Again, trend. This team, RMP has been good since Burning Crusade. So, again, this shouldn't be a shock to anyone. It's the same thing. You'll notice the trend from the 2v2s, as I just mentioned. Sub Rogue, excellent CC. Frost Mage controls the field. They will destroy melee comps. Absolutely devastate them. All I'm doing is adding a Disc Priest. Good control. Obviously, they have Alter Time. They have Ice Block, which now when you go into Ice Block, you get a heal. Your mirror image is back. Good setup with your stuns and your mobility. Really good at surviving. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Sub Rogue, they have their legendary, which double damage on your Shadow Step. So it should be no shock that this is the top 3. Now this one might be a little bit interesting to people. Sub Rogue, Disc Priest, Elemental Shaman, Ret. So, the Sub Rogue and the Disc Priest are staples. That's what doesn't get moved. Those two have to be on the team. But the Elemental Shaman and Ret can be flip flopped. As you saw in the 2v2s again, I'm going to keep referencing that. The Ret Paladin and Sub Rogue work together really well because of the big burst, the good mobility, the survivability. Obviously, the Elemental Shaman kind of gives the same deal, but it's now a caster. So, again, one hit KO ability from Elemental and Ret. Good survivability. You add a Disc Priest, which is the best healer in the game. Obviously, this Sub Rogue has what it needs. It's really good setup for your Lava Burst and your Earth Shock. Good survivability and good sustain. One hit KO ability. Obviously, if the one hit KO ability, all the stuff is the same. You just flip flop in the Ret. And this team essentially has the best healer and the best melee in the game. And then, so basically, it's a 3-step formula: best melee, best healer, best burst. So you're basically putting the X is the best burst in the game. That's your X factor right there. Your one hit KO ability. So it makes sense why this team is number 2. And to finish her up, Sub Rogue. Oop, I want it like this. Okay. Sub Rogue, Resto Druid, and Shadow Priest. This is the only time that Discipline Priest isn't in it, and the only reason why is because your CC would conflict with Shadow Priest and Discipline Priest. That's the only reason why it's not Discipline Priest. The one word of caution I would have with this team, but it doesn't really matter too much. I'll explain why. So the one word of caution is Resto Druids right now have obviously the best hots in the game, healing over time. They could spread their heals around. They have really good hots. But they have a hard time healing against big burst damage. They can't really keep up with it. So every 2 minutes or so, when the team's about to do their big burst again, Resto Druid is going to need the help of the Shadow Priest to off heal. But that's why it's still the number 1, because the Shadow Priest can pick up the slack in that scenario. So what was I going to say about this? So it's definitely the best comp by far right now. The same thing for the reason for the 2v2s. Unless a nerf is going to happen, they are really good. They have really good ramp, good off heal, as I just mentioned. Stun, silence, cyclone. So they have a little bit of everything. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Is there anything else I should mention? No, that's really about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to be making way more WoW videos. I like WoW a lot. I enjoy PvP and Arena. I'm going to keep everything up to date as often as I can. Any changes, I will be making another video to fix up what I did. And obviously it's still pre-patch, so changes are going to happen. And I will make sure to keep everybody up to date, I promise. And yeah, that's really about it. If you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate a sub to the channel and a like. That would really mean a lot to me. So, if you could, thank you for tuning in.